Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Everyone is flying out to Los Angeles ahead of the World Championships, it seems, at the present time. Crimsix is there, the Subliners guys are there, but also the OpTic guys I'm sure will be there in due course as well. However the practice has gone over the last few weeks is going to be critical to how a World Championship run might potentially go. A glimmer service from Shotzzy that indicates the team dynamics are still looking rather good. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Really helps on the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to discuss today. First of all, just wanted to mention if you guys haven't yet submitted your fancy team, there's only a couple of days left to do it. This was Crohn's. My one was kind of similar but a bit different. You get a $25 budget to pick your 4 players. I think you can pick players from, I'm not sure if there's any team you can pick the entire team off, because the winning team from Major 4 I think was people who picked the entirety of the Los Angeles Thieves. Pretty sure the amount of money that players are worth now does not allow that to be possible anymore, but there's over $1,500 of real cash to be won. If you pick the best team you get $500. Love to see it. Get involved. Link in the description box below. This is the biggest prize pool we've given away, so yeah, this is the one to get involved in if you want to get involved with anyone. Big intel from the CDL yesterday confirming the starting team for FaZe drastically different. Nastie, Simp, aBeZy, Cellium. Not really sure why they did these tweets. I guess it makes sense where they want to recap all the teams, but it's kind of strange to me that they talk about, wow, what the starting roster is, where it's pretty obvious that nothing's changed for any of these teams. They're going into champs, but yeah, can they go back to back? Guess that's the key point. Like, yeah, I don't know if there's ever really been a team in COD history that's gone back to back. I don't think there ever has been, right? So I guess this will be the first if FaZe can manage it. Individual players have on occasion gone back to back. I think JCap would be a notable example from Advanced Warfare 3 to Black Ops 3, and as always like Karma, Black Ops 2 and Ghost, stuff like that as well. But I mean, yeah, as an entire team, that has not been the case before. So FaZe, as we talked about yesterday, are they favourites? Are they not quite favourites? It's probably there or thereabouts, to be honest. Of course, look, who knows how their scrims have been going. Good night to all we better, says Arcitys. Like, Gunners is in the replies. Not attending a champs again. Like, has Gunners not been at the last, what, 3 World Championships? I'm not exactly sure. Like, okay, back in Modern Warfare, he got benched from OpTic, or benched from the Chicago Huntsman, wasn't able to attend. Last season, he was on Seattle Surge, I suppose, but they didn't make the World Championship anyway, I'm pretty sure. And then this season, similar story on Los Angeles Guerrillas. So that is pretty tough scenes. Do really wonder what's going to happen with Gunners during this off-season, because I think Rostermania is going to get pretty hectic with guys like that being free agents on the market. Now, this also to mention from OpTic, they confirm or reveal this yesterday. Better late than never, the trophy from Major 1. Now, of course, they took quite some time to produce this. I don't know if the OpTic guys thought when Major 1 happened back in, what, the start of March, that the CDL were going to make a trophy. But the CDL seemingly don't like making trophies. In fairness, it's actually better, really, that their teams do it themselves. I wish, like, the CDL might give them a bit of money to do this, though, because, in fairness, the trophies that we've got for the Majors have been much better than I'm sure what the CDL would have come up with. This is pretty cool, though, from OpTic, because they do have, like, the CDL-esque. You see the kind of, you know, the 3 pillars of the CDL logo. They've kind of split them up here and used them to hold up this globe. It's a pretty cool trophy, I can't lie. Would have been better if it was actually made at the time the event happened, right? And I wonder if they would have actually made this after the fact if they hadn't have won it, right? Like, if FaZe had have won the event, would they have really gone to the trouble of making this and shipping it out to FaZe? I kind of doubt it, but can't really blame them. So we do at least have 4 trophies for 4 events this season, albeit it's been quite some time since that actually happened, and at least the CDL does have a trophy for the World Championship, even though probably the World Championship trophy is worse than every other trophy that the other teams came up with this entire season. This one especially, I think, is a much more creative and interesting way to use the CDL pillars than what the CDL do for the actual World Championship trophy. But yeah, thankfully, the guys don't have to rely on this trophy anymore to celebrate their Major 1 victory. These are the trophies, if you guys kind of aren't familiar or missed some of them. This is, of course, the most recent OpTic one we've just seen created. This was the shield that they came up with for the Major 2 in Minnesota, which I thought was pretty cool. Of course, there was the crown that they came up with for Toronto, and then most recently, this trophy that they came up with, the Statue of Liberty and stuff like this, which apparently was too gruesome for the CDL or something. They didn't want to put it on stream. Strange stuff, classic scenes. But let's talk about Vanguard, baby. It's kind of over. Like, it's strange to think about the Vanguard season, because at least last year, looking back on the season in Cold War, we had, what, Standoff came in, Raid came in, Apocalypse came in, like, was there even another map as well that I'm failing to remember? Oh, Express, of course, right, Express Search and Destroy came into the game as well. Like, I mean, looking back on Vanguard, we've had Berlin Control. Congratulations, that's what's been added. Like, at the start of the year, we were looking at these maps thinking, we've only got 4 hardpoints, 4 Search and Destroys, and like 2 controls. Eventually we get a 3rd control, but it was like, okay, yeah, surely we're going to have another map at some point. Surely we can get rid of Desert Siege at some point. But yeah, not the case. Nothing has changed in the game the entire season long. Like, it's got to be one of the worst seasons from that perspective, like, that we've ever had, to be honest. And honestly, I do think there is some optimism around the new title, but it seems relatively few and far between. Like, a lot of the pros that flew out there, played the game, said it was fantastic, but we kind of know what that generally means. So I do wonder what the kind of the pros are thinking right now in terms of whether next year will be much better. But I mean, look, still, the game is over, at least for online play. Of course, for 4 of the teams, it was over after Major 4 when they, of course, failed to make it through to the World Championship. But yeah, online Vanguard officially over. Everyone's happy about it. But as Clay says, it's actually not quite so simple that online Vanguard is over, because on LAN, they still play online. If you guys aren't kind of familiar with this, back in the day on the PS3s, on the PS4s, I guess, and on the Xbox 360s, you could get 8 of them, plug them all into each other, and play in a proper local area network environment. Nowadays, LAN isn't even a feature anymore, apparently, of, well, it seems to be the case, of effectively PC play. So if you're playing on LAN, you're really not. You're playing in the same venue on what should be the same ping, but you're playing it to still a server that is local, I suppose, to the venue. So as Clay says, was going to say last day of online Vanguard scrims, but I'm going to Challenges Champs and scrimming at LAN online there and playing a tournament LAN online as well, you know, more online. So this is a big frustration of many players. I don't know if this is worse for the Challenger side than it is for the pro side. I don't really imagine it would be, but we did see this from Clayster as well, where he says, you know, all of this saying, okay, they're at least on the same ping. Apparently that's untrue. Main stage at Boston, when they played, I guess, Scrappy's team back in the Boston event, which was not that long ago, just before Major 4, he reckons his team was on about 65 ping to this server, and Scrappy was on 50 ping, and they were playing on LAN. So, like, that's crazy. If that's even the case on the official CDL stuff, then it's just outrageous. Like, and it even says here, it hasn't really been LAN since next-gen consoles. Xbox Ones and PS4s weren't even full LAN either. So, yeah, big complaint really by a lot of the pros that we've had so far that, yes, LAN isn't even really LAN anymore, and maybe the ping can even be different on one side of the stage to the other. So, brings up a whole question about the bad boxes that we used to talk about back in the day as well, whether one side on, you know, the right side of the stage has a higher ping than the left side of the stage. It's not a question we really want to be having to talk about, but, you know, apparently it's actually an issue the pros still have to think about here. But yeah, thankfully, I suppose, technically, online is over. And even Clay throwing some further digs in at Doug here. He says, yo, Center, want to be our offensive coordinator at Champs, right? Just because, of course, Doug failed to make it to the World Championship. Clay isn't going to the actual World Championship. He's going to the Challengers World Championship, but that's running alongside this weekend, and we'll have a champion from both sides of things. Exciting stuff. Crim, though, he's out there. Look at the apartment right here that I guess the New York guys have hit him up with in Los Angeles. Look at the balcony. I mean, it's just looking fantastic. If New York are treating him like this, he better deliver the goods, you'd imagine. This apartment is absolutely superb. I mean, like the hotel room that he gets in, I'm guessing there's other people in here, right? There's no way this is just Crim's room, but I mean, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe Crim just gets all this space. He's got the double bed. I suppose that if there's no other bed in there, then I guess it's just Crim. He's got this room all to himself. So seems pretty good. Like, you know, look good, play good. But of course, now with teams getting out there, right, they've had their couple of weeks of practice after Major 4. This is it, right? This is the last and final call. However, practice has gone the last few weeks. The 3 scrims a day that OpTic have been doing at times that Scump even said was slightly too much. That's all done and dusted now. Like, yeah, it's time to lock in for the World Championship, right? So whoever things have gone the last couple of weeks, that's going to be incredibly impactful on what the future holds here at Champs. Wanted to show a couple of clips. Firstly, just from Shotzzy, a clip that came up. Not exactly sure how old this is, but OpTic just put it on their kind of shorts channel or clips channel just yesterday, but I think it might be a little bit older than that. But anyway, Shotzzy talking about the possibility of him joining the OpTic team last year, I suppose in place of Envoy, if he had the offer. And he basically says, well, yeah, look, the Dallas Empire time last year with Crimsix especially wasn't very fun at all. And if he got a chance to join OpTic, he probably would have done so if they'd have decided to, you know, get rid of Envoy or something and bring Shotzzy in. If that was a possibility at the time before the merger happened, he would have done exactly that. So implying that still, whatever the environment is within OpTic right now, the chemistry within this present team of 4 is still where it needs to be. And also one from Rama, just to touch once again on the teams they've been scrimming against.
Wait, would you have left Envy for OpTic then? It's a weird ass question to ask because we're literally like one. You know what I mean? It all depends. Like if I like my team though, like if I like my team and we're winning and it'd be different. Like for example, like last year, yes, like yes, I would 100%. Last year, 100%.
So our scrims are basically like we scrim basically the same teams on a two-day rotation. Yes, we are currently scrimming to FaZe. Yeah, NYSL, Seattle, FaZe, and London are the 4 teams we scrim.
So that's the thing, right? We know the OpTic guys had a few things to work on after Major 4. Thought this is a cool, like, set of graphics as well here, actually, because it looks like it's one of those things where they have, like, 4 high-quality images, like, across from each other just to get a better picture. But if you click on these, you actually get to other pictures above and below, and then the one in the middle kind of goes into the collage. So thought this is kind of interesting. I'll scroll through some stuff as I talk about the OpTic guys' weaknesses for Major 4. We talked about the Berlin situation, right? They didn't really want to play much Berlin, therefore they played a lot of Bacage. They reckon that they pretty much could have won the Bacage against FaZe, but made a couple of key mistakes. It does seem like to a degree they still want to keep the Bacage up going into champs. We'll see, of course, how that's gone, because the teams that they're scrimming against, FaZe, New York Subliners, the Seattle Surge, London, those are teams generally pretty good at Bacage, pretty good at Berlin, good at control as well, especially if you look at the likes of Surge and FaZe so far this season, and that puts them in a spot where they could have had very good practice indeed on those particular modes. And OpTic might be in somewhat of a luxurious position that because they haven't won the most recent event or looked like one of the scariest teams at the event, who's going to be doing that much prep for OpTic going into this? Like, of course, people are going to be looking at what OpTic are doing, probably to a certain degree, but like if you're prepping for an event, who are you going to look up against? You're going to look at what FaZe are doing, you're going to look at what Los Angeles Thieves are doing, right? So I think most teams, of course Toronto are going to be very hard prepping for OpTic individually, but if OpTic get past Toronto and move on through the tournament, then the other teams they might play against are not necessarily going to be prepping hard for what OpTic have done. Like, all the teams will be looking into how exactly Thieves played this most recent tournament. Like, FaZe, of course, are always going to be a target to a certain degree. Of course, that really only comes into play if OpTic kind of go under the radar in terms of what they've been practicing and preparing for, if they can get past the first couple of rounds, because if OpTic beat Toronto, they're going to play Thieves, and Thieves, like, they're going to be looking at what kind of these two teams are doing as well in terms of their preparation, watching some VOD, watching them search and destroy VOD, this type of stuff. But if OpTic get past that, or if they drop down to losers and make a bit of a losers run against teams like Surge or New York or whatever, like, these teams are probably going to prepare much more for FaZe and Thieves than they might be for OpTic, right? So it could give them a slight edge, and one of the reasons why it can be so challenging to go back-to-back at tournaments like this is because once you've won one, then every team is effectively coming for you, right? And I'm sure Kenny well knows that, right, on the Los Angeles Thieves going into this event. He does mention right here the home field advantage, which could be a difference maker, right? I think we've seen generally so far this year, with the exception maybe of Minnesota at Major 2, where I think they went top 12, and even at Major 3, Toronto. To be fair, Toronto made a decent run at Major 3. Of course, OpTic won their home major right at the start of the season, and then at Major 4 in New York, like at New York, made a great run in front of the home crowd. So it does feel like the home field advantage does give some edge to the team that is there. Of course, we haven't really seen a pure home field advantage outside of, I suppose, the OpTic event where the entire crowd was OpTic fans, or the New York event where the team was getting into it. In Los Angeles, like, is there going to be a home field advantage for Thieves? Is that, like, do they have enough, gravitas, I suppose, in that crowd? Or is it, if it's Thieves versus OpTic, it's still going to be an OpTic crowd. But, then again, if it's Thieves versus FaZe, then that maybe the home field advantage comes into play. So it might be a factor. We've seen things like that few and far between so far this season, but still intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Who's actually going to win this World Championship? This is a phenomenal play from back in the day in the Infinite Warfare World Championship in the Grand Finals. Look at the interception that Former makes right here. This is why I miss Uplink, babe. We need to get back to jetpacks at some point and bring Uplink back, because what a game mode. And yeah, Former was not only doing it all this game, all this weekends, in terms of dropping the kills, but he was, flying into the air and intercepting uplink balls as well. Just a great game mode. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. Tell us YouTube gods, that's a good video. And just like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive quality community. Thank you as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.
Cool. So let's get right into it, man. What has your first season been like for you?
My first season's been pretty, I'd say pretty intricate, if I had a word to describe it. A lot of work put